Major.
There have been a lot of descriptions today of what Secretary Clinton may or may not have done. Violated the law, skirted the law, complied. Where do you come down?
I come down wherever the State Department attorney comes down. Ultimately, it's the responsibility of the State Department to ensure compliance with these rules.
Administration, though.
Of course it is. And that's why we've been very clear about what sort of guidance these agencies should be following. But each of them, I think understandably, implements these guidelines in their own way that reflect the unique challenges and responsibilities of that agency's employees. So it's the responsibility at the agency level for these for compliance to be determined. They do that in coordination with the National Archives and Records Administration. But ultimately it's their policy to implement and their policy to evaluate whether or not or how individuals should comply with those guidelines. And again, this is what prompted the request from the State Department to previously serving Secretaries of State to forward on to them records that may have been kept in their personal email account.
I'm not trying to be cute here, but lots of people work for this administration. This is an ongoing topic of conversation. I know there's a new law, but can you venture a conclusion, or will you offer a conclusion as to whether or not the Secretary broke the law, skirted the law, or complied with the law, based on what we know so far?
Yeah. Again, Major, the guidelines that are laid out under the Federal Records Act require that records that are maintained, that pertain to official government business, that do reside in one's personal email account, should be turned over to agency officials so that those records can be properly maintained and preserved.
And can you make a judgment as to whether or not you believe the Secretary's complied with that guidance?
Well, again, I know that Secretary Clinton's team has indicated that they complied with that guidance. I know that the Secretary of, or the Department of State has made the request and has received what Secretary Clinton's team put together. But ultimately, it's the responsibility of those two parties to assess how and whether this is within the guidelines of what is required. But again, what Secretary Clinton's team has said is that they reviewed the emails and they took the emails that were related to her official work as the Secretary of State and sent them to the State Department.
For the public's benefit, in the name of transparency, will you call on the State Department to release these emails publicly, the non-classified ones?
Well, Major, I know that there are a number of these emails that have already, I don't know, well, first of all, I don't know that any of them are classified. But I know that a number of these emails have already been produced to Congress as it relates to a legitimate congressional oversight request. I don't know exactly what the rules are under the Freedom of Information Act for the State Department. But certainly if you're interested in seeing those emails, that would be the avenue that I would recommend.